I'm Denise and I am 43 years old and I just went on my first multiple day bike tour in the fall and I want to share it with you guys. It took a while to get ready for this trip. I mean, I did a bike fit. I also, I did a bunch of test rides. I learned a lot and redid equipment and, had to, restart everything. And I went on a bike overnight before I did this multiple days trip. And I'll link those at the bottom for you to check out. Let me set the stage here. My friend and I, Suzanne, had this big, huge, idea that we were gonna do the Ohio to Erie Trail, which is 326 miles across vertically across the entire state of Ohio. Big goal. We couldn't quite do that goal. Unfortunately, as the trip got closer, Suzanne's work schedule just wouldn't allow for this to happen. But she could swing 4 days. So she had 4 days she could do the tour. So I kind of had a big decision to make, do I just go on a 4-day trip with her, even though we had planned on doing this big 8-day trip, or do I go solo and do the Ohio to Erie Trail by myself? And I gotta tell you, that scares the bejesus out of me. I wasn't ready to go solo yet. I had done the overnight solo and that was fine, but that was in my backyard. That was 20 miles from my house. I had a safety net. I was gonna be away and didn't have a safety net. So I wasn't ready to go solo yet. I'll be quite honest. Okay, so we stuck with Ohio as our destination. And I know Ohio, but why not Ohio? The state has a great trail system, and we could pull off the logistics really easy from our home base in Louisville because Ohio's, only an hour and a half away, 2 hours away to the southernmost tip. So we picked this quaint little town called Miamisburg, and it kind of sits in the central western portion of the state. It was a great little spot to start because it was easy to get to from Louisville, but there was another reason why I wanted to pick Miamisburg. Miamisburg is closer to the Indiana state line. So, I kept thinking about, only doing the 4 days, and I was really disappointed in only being able to do the 4 days. So I decided that I was gonna get up the courage to do 3 more days by myself. And I know, a lot of adventure types are gonna jump at the opportunity to go solo and just do something on their own. But I'm more like an inchworm when it comes to doing that kind of stuff. I've gotta, ease my way into it. So I decided to go ahead and that I wanted to extend that trip and go to my hometown. Okay, back to the route. Okay, so we wanted to do this cool little loop. We wanted to go from the Great Miami Trail to the Little Miami Trail and kind of hit these really cool little trail towns and then cycle back around to Dayton and then back to Miamisburg. And we kind of dubbed it the Great Little Miami Bike Adventure because we were hitting both the Great Miami Trail and the Little Miami Trail. So these little trail towns are like Xenia and Yellow Springs. They're kind of known as these little hot spots with all these really neat little quaint businesses and breweries and just all kinds of restaurants and things. But we also wanted to hit some Ohio State parks. We wanted to make sure we were camping along those Ohio State parks. So that's kind of how we set our loop tour. For my solo portion, I wanted to stay at this really cool lodge at Houston Woods, which is a really beautiful park in Western Ohio. So I kind of mapped that in and mapped it in to go to my hometown in Indiana. That was going to be another, from Houston Woods, it was about 70 miles. So this is not going to be a gear junkie kind of video where I'm going to show you all the cool stuff I use, because quite frankly, I didn't even have this at that time. And I didn't have a lot of other things that I now have. So I'm not going to talk about my gear. And in fact, when you see I'm using a little Motobacon bicycle that I got off of Bikes Direct. So, you know, I'm making do with the equipment that I have right now. So it made it through. I didn't have any problems really once it got started. Anyhow. So for routing and navigation, I basically just used my iPhone. And it worked perfectly because I was in an area that never lost cell coverage. And I also printed out the maps because I'm a geek like that. And I'll tell you, when we were using Ride with GPS to plan the route, I really looked at everything right down to, I mean, I was going to Google Street View to see what the road looked like and what the shoulder looked like, because I wanted to know those things. You know, I didn't want to be surprised by, you know, a 55 to 65 mile an hour speed limit either. That was the big thing for me. And when it comes to like how I packed for this trip, I basically packed the exact same way I did for my overnight, because I was prepared for my overnight. I had learned from all these other, you know, really awesome bike tourists on what they packed and what they brought. So I basically tried to pack really light. And with the Ohio tour, we knew we were going to eat along the way, that we weren't going to have to make a lot of meals. We basically only made 2 meals our entire trip. So I knew I wasn't going to have a lot of gear. You know, I didn't need things like a water filter because we were going to be going through a bunch of towns and parks, and there was just water plentiful in the area. I did, however, pack an extra water bladder, and that came in really handy. But for the rest of it, I just packed basic stuff, clothes that I needed to ride, and I only packed 3 days worth of bike riding clothes and 1 pair of like kick around clothes, and that was it. And that was only because I didn't want to wear gross bike shorts, dirty bike shorts. So yeah, the whole reason why I wanted to document it, which, you know, it's really hard to document your first trip when, you know, you have a lot going on, you're doing these new things and you're trying to figure things out with, you know, trying to document it. That was really challenging. But the reason why I wanted to do that is because I know there's got to be people like me, you know, those over 40 folks that are starting over and want adventure in their lives, or heck, just people coming out of college that had never done anything adventurous. You know, adventure, if you're not used to it, it's scary. And so, you know, I just want to be able to show people that it's accessible. You can do it. And you can do it in the Midwest. You can do it in the middle of the country. You don't have to be on the coast with oceans, or in the mountains in Colorado. Like, you can find adventure wherever you live. So I hope you enjoy the video series. And, you know, let me know what you think, and let me know about your experiences. You know, if you got something out of this, put it in the comments. Tell me your story. I want to know about your bike tours. So yeah, let's explore this together. Okay. And if you like this video, hit subscribe, because I'm going to be producing a lot more content similar, but much better now that I have GoPros and all that fancy stuff that I now know how to use. And I studied cinematography over the winter. So, all right, so here it is. This is my multiple day bike tour, my first one ever. I think you'll see the excitement in there. And up next is day 1, arriving, packing the bags, and setting off.